This movie almost wasn't called Drive Me Crazy at all. It was shot and nearly released under the title Next to You until a record label talked the studio into renaming it after a Britney Spears remix, and its two stars ended up in her music video to help sell it. One actress in this cast launched her entire career by pretending, for a magazine, to be a famous person who didn't exist. Watch closely during the basketball scenes and you'll spot an uncredited cameo from one of the decade's biggest teen heartthrobs. Blink and you'll miss him. And the two actors playing this film's married parents were actually married in real life, a fact that became a great deal darker 15 years later, when one of them turned out to be the reason the other's entire career collapsed overnight. Released on the 1st of October 1999, Drive Me Crazy is a teen romantic comedy about two former best friends turned next-door strangers. Nicole Maris, the popular senior running her high school's centennial dance, and Chase Hammond, the scruffy activist who spent years annoyed by everything she stands for. When they're both dumped within days of each other, they strike a deal, fake a relationship to make their exes jealous, and predictably start falling for each other for real. Made for a modest $8.5 million, the film pulled in $22.6 million worldwide and never quite escaped the shadow of its soundtrack, but it launched at least two genuinely major careers and quietly hid one of the more unsettling real-life footnotes in 1990s teen cinema. So where did they all end up? Melissa Joan Hart plays Nicole Maris, the peppy, controlling centennial dance chairwoman who's never met a plan she couldn't overmanage, including her own love life. Nicole spends the film trying to engineer everyone else's happiness while missing the boy next door who's been in front of her the whole time. And Hart, already one of the most recognizable teen faces in America, plays her with the same effortless, wholesome comic timing that had made her famous years earlier. Melissa Joan Hart was born on the 18th of April, 1976, in Smithtown, New York, the eldest of what would eventually be 8 children. Her mother, Paula, became her manager from the start. She began acting in commercials at 4, landed the lead in Nickelodeon's Clarissa Explains It All at 14, and was still starring as Sabrina Spellman on Sabrina the Teenage Witch when she signed on for this film, then still titled Next to You. Coinciding with the film's release, Hart posed for a lingerie shoot on the cover of Maxim, a choice so at odds with her squeaky clean image that the publisher of the Sabrina comic book series reportedly threatened to sue her for breach of contract. After Drive Me Crazy, Melissa Joan Hart kept starring on Sabrina until it ended in 2003, then spent 5 seasons opposite Joey Lawrence on Melissa and Joey. She wrote a memoir, Melissa Explains It All, competed on Dancing with the Stars in 2009, and in 2021 became the first celebrity to win the top $1 million prize on Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, which she donated to her charity, Youth Villages. In March 2023, she was near Nashville's Covenant School during the shooting there and helped get children to safety. More recently, she's leaned into darker material, starring in the 2022 hoarding drama Dirty Little Secret and 2025's Killing the Competition. She's been married to musician Mark Wilkerson since 2003. They have 3 sons and live in Nashville. She is 50 years old as of July 2026. Adrian Grenier plays Chase Hammond, the shaggy-haired activist next door who lectures about the fascist nature of pep rallies while nursing a grief he never quite talks about. His mother died a few years before the story begins, a detail the film mostly leaves alone, but that quietly explains why he pulled away from Nicole in the first place. Grenier plays him with an unforced, low-key charisma that made it obvious, in hindsight, why he'd end up leading a hit show about the very kind of fame this character claims to despise. Adrian Grenier was born on the 10th of July, 1976 in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and raised by his mother in New York City after his parents separated when he was an infant. He didn't reconnect with his father until adulthood, a reunion he later chronicled in his directorial debut, the documentary Shot in the Dark. He left Bard College to pursue acting, breaking in with small independent films like Arresting Gina and Hurricane Streets in 1997, and a supporting turn in Woody Allen's Celebrity in 1998, before Drive Me Crazy gave him his first real mainstream exposure. After Drive Me Crazy, Adrian Grenier spent nearly a decade steadily working before landing the role that defined him, Vincent Chase, the rising movie star at the center of HBO's Entourage, which ran 8 seasons from 2004 to 2011 and returned for a film in 2015. In between, he played Anne Hathaway's chef boyfriend in The Devil Wears Prada and built a parallel career as an environmental activist, founding the Lonely Whale Foundation and serving as a UN Environment Program Goodwill Ambassador. In 2020, disillusioned with Hollywood, he left Los Angeles for good. He and his wife, Jordan Rommel, whom he married in an unplanned elopement in Morocco in 2022, now run Kintsugi Ranch, a wildlife sanctuary outside Austin, Texas, where they're raising two sons, Seiko, born in 2023, and Everin, born in March 2025. He still acts occasionally. He currently hosts the crypto series Crypto Nights and appears in the 2026 short Self-Custody, but describes his pace of life now as Earth Speed. Ali Larter plays Dulcie, Chase's idealistic, animal rights activist ex-girlfriend, the kind of character teen movies usually flatten into a punchline, but who the script, unusually, treats with real sympathy. Dulcie is written to be a genuine person with genuine convictions, not an obstacle, and Larter plays her without a trace of condescension. Ali Larter was born Allison Elizabeth Larter on the 28th of February 1976 in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and began modeling at 14 after being discovered on the street for a Philadelphia Phillies commercial. In 1996, Esquire magazine ran an elaborate hoax article naming her Allegra Coleman, a fictional starlet supposedly dating Quentin Tarantino and being courted by Woody Allen. The stunt generated so much real interest that talent agencies tried to sign the non-existent Coleman, and it launched Larter's actual acting career. By 1999, she had broken out in Varsity Blues, best remembered for a scene involving a bikini made of whipped cream, and filmed Drive Me Crazy the same year. After Drive Me Crazy, Ali Larter became one of the era's defining scream queens, playing Clear Rivers across the first two Final Destination films, then found mainstream success as Reese Witherspoon's rival-turned-friend in Legally Blonde. She spent 4 seasons playing the dual roles of Nikki Sanders and Tracy Strauss on NBC's Heroes, and later starred as Claire Redfield in 3 Resident Evil films. She married actor Hayes MacArthur in 2009. They have 2 children. Most recently, she's found a new generation of fans as Angela Norris on Taylor Sheridan's Paramount Plus hit Landman, which just delivered the platform's most-watched original series finale ever and has already been renewed for a 3rd season. Mark Webber plays Dave, one of Chase's 2 loyal, uncool best friends, who runs an informal designated driver service for the popular kids who'd otherwise ignore him, and is quietly falling for a girl he's only ever spoken to online. Dave is the film's most grounded presence, the one character who never pretends to be anyone other than who he is. Mark Webber was born on the 19th of July, 1980 in Minneapolis, and spent part of his childhood homeless, living out of abandoned buildings and cars in Philadelphia with his mother, Cherie Honkala, a nationally known anti-poverty organizer who ran for Philadelphia sheriff for the Green Party and was the party's vice presidential nominee in 2012. He began acting as a teenager to help support the household. After Drive Me Crazy, Mark Webber built one of the more genuinely eclectic careers to come out of this cast, working with directors including Jim Jarmusch, Lars von Trier, and Gus Van Sant, and playing Stephen Stills in both Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and his 2023 animated continuation, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. He's also become a prolific independent filmmaker in his own right, writing and directing Explicit Ills, The End of Love, and Flesh and Blood, with a new film, Figments of Freedom, executive produced by Sia, set for release this year. He married Australian actress Teresa Palmer in December 2013 after she reached out to him on Twitter. They now have 5 children together, the youngest born in September 2025, and remain outspoken advocates for the homeless alongside his mother. Chris Park plays Ray Neely, the 3rd member of Chase's friend group, an amateur filmmaker who quotes Dickens at prom and nurses a quiet, unrequited crush on Nicole. Park brings the character's nerdiness without ever making him pathetic, which is a harder trick than it looks. After Drive Me Crazy, Chris Park moved almost entirely into independent film, appearing in Spike Lee's Bamboozled the following year and building a 2-decade career largely outside the studio system. His 2013 short film Chapel Perilous won both the Audience Award and the Short Film Grand Jury Prize at Sundance, and he recently completed a modern retelling of Ibsen's Hedda Gabler. He trained at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts and keeps a low public profile. Susan May Pratt plays Alicia, Nicole's supposed best friend, who turns out to be quietly sabotaging her behind her back out of pure jealousy. It's a nastier, more calculating role than the wide-eyed Shakespeare fan Pratt had played in 10 Things I Hate About You, just months earlier, released the same year, and she leans all the way into the character's two-facedness. Susan May Pratt was born on the 8th of February 1974 in East Lansing, Michigan, and left home as a teenager to model before a modeling audition in New York accidentally launched her acting career. 1999 was an enormous year for her. She released this film the same year as 10 Things I Hate About You, and the following year she starred in the ballet drama Center Stage, which has since become a cult classic in its own right. After Drive Me Crazy, Susan May Pratt worked steadily in guest roles across Mad Men, Private Practice, and Masters of Sex, but never returned to the kind of lead parts this stretch of films offered her. In 2006, she married Canadian actor Kenneth Mitchell, later known for playing multiple characters on Star Trek Discovery, and for portraying Carol Danvers' father in Captain Marvel. Mitchell was diagnosed with ALS in 2018 and kept acting through his illness. The show's writers even built his real wheelchair into one of his characters. Before he died in February 2024 at 49, they had 2 children together. Pratt continues to work in television and film today. Stephen Collins plays Mr. Maris, Nicole's doting, easygoing single father, a warm and unremarkable presence in a movie that needed exactly that from him. At the time, Collins was playing an almost identical role as the wholesome Reverend Eric Camden on Seventh Heaven, then one of the most watched family dramas on television. His on-screen wife in this film, credited as Mrs. Maris, was played by Faye Grant, who was, at the time, his actual real-life wife of 14 years. Stephen Collins was born on the 1st of October, 1947, in Des Moines, Iowa, studied at Amherst College, and broke through in 1976, playing a young Bob Woodward colleague in All the President's Men, later appearing as Commander Decker in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. By the time of Drive Me Crazy, he had built a long, respected career as television's default kind, dependable father figure. In October 2014, that image collapsed overnight. TMZ published a 2012 audio recording made during a marriage counseling session with Grant, in which Collins was heard admitting to sexual contact with underage girls. Grant had recorded the session and given it to police after Collins refused further treatment. The recording became public shortly before their divorce was finalized. That December, Collins released a lengthy statement to people confirming he had engaged in inappropriate sexual contact with 3 minors across incidents between 1973 and 1994. He was investigated by police departments in both New York and Los Angeles, but was never criminally charged, as the statute of limitations had passed in every case. His acting career effectively ended overnight. Reruns of Seventh Heaven were pulled from cable television, and he has not held a major role since. He and Grant, who has a daughter with him, finalized their divorce in 2015. Carrie Lynn Pratt plays Dee Vine, one of Nicole's friends in the popular crowd, a small but memorably named supporting part. Carrie Lynn Pratt was born on the 23rd of September 1978 in Concord, New Hampshire, and was crowned Miss New Hampshire Teen USA in 1994 before training at the Broadway Dance Center and breaking into acting. Drive Me Crazy was her film debut. After Drive Me Crazy, Carrie Lynn Pratt worked steadily through the 2000s, starring opposite Amy Adams in Cruel Intentions 2, playing Missy Belknap on the acclaimed drama Jack and Bobby, and taking a recurring role as Cat Grant on Smallville. She married John Barneson in 2011. Her screen credits largely stop after a 2014 appearance on The Originals, and she appears to have stepped back from acting altogether since. Mark Metcalf plays Mr. Rope, the school's exasperated principal, a role that barely stretched a veteran character actor already famous for playing exactly this kind of blustering authority figure for 2 decades. Mark Metcalf was born on the 11th of March, 1946 in Findlay, Ohio, and had already lived an entire other career by the time this film came out. As the sadistic ROTC officer Niedermeyer in 1978's Animal House, a character so iconic he reprised versions of it in Twisted Sister's music videos for We're Not Gonna Take It and I Wanna Rock. He also played the Maestro, opposite Julia Louis-Dreyfus on Seinfeld, and would soon become the Master, the original villain of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a role he held into the show's early seasons. After Drive Me Crazy, Mark Metcalf largely walked away from Hollywood. In 2000, he moved to Wisconsin with his wife and young son, who has special needs, and opened a restaurant called Libby Montana rather than continue chasing acting work. He drifted back into performing through a local children's theater, and in 2013 relocated again to Missoula, Montana to be near his son at college. In 2020, his unconventional second act became the subject of Character, a documentary short that premiered at Sundance. He's continued taking the occasional role since, most recently in the 2019 indie The Field. Jordan Bridges plays Eddie Lampell, one of the film's cooler, more casually cruel jocks, a small supporting part for an actor who comes from one of Hollywood's most enduring acting dynasties. Jordan Bridges was born on the 13th of November, 1973, in Los Angeles, the son of actor Beau Bridges, nephew of Jeff Bridges, and grandson of Lloyd Bridges, 3 generations of one of American film's defining families. He acted briefly as a child alongside his whole family in the TV movie The Thanksgiving Promise, then deliberately stepped away to have a normal childhood, returning to acting only after college at Bard and a year studying at London's prestigious LAMDA. After Drive Me Crazy, Jordan Bridges built a long, steady career as a working actor without ever chasing his family's level of fame, most notably starring as Frankie Rizzoli Jr. across 105 episodes of TNT's Rizzoli and Isles from 2010 to 2016. More recently, he's appeared in Apple TV Plus's Palm Royale, guest starred on The Blacklist and Law & Order Organized Crime, and reprised his role as the arms dealer Bob in 2025's Den of Thieves, Pantera, alongside Gerard Butler. He married artist Carrie Eastman in a Burning Man ceremony in 2002, formalized the following year in Hawaii. Gabriel Carpenter plays Brad Selden, the school's star basketball player, and Nicole's oblivious crush. The golden boy obstacle every version of this story needs before the real romance can happen. Gabriel Carpenter was born on the 20th of November, 1977, in Huntington, New York, and Drive Me Crazy was one of his earliest roles. After Drive Me Crazy, Gabriel Carpenter picked up small parts in Riding in Cars with Boys and on Boston Public. Then, after a final guest spot on Law & Order in 2002, seemed to vanish from the industry entirely for more than 20 years. He spent the gap studying acting and martial arts between London and Japan. In 2024 and 2025, he quietly resurfaced in two independent short films, Earnestly Yours and I Am Not Zach, a small, low-key return for an actor whose disappearance had become something of a running mystery among fans of the film. If this trip back to the Centennial Dance is bringing back memories, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. 26 years on, Drive Me Crazy still gets remembered mostly for its soundtrack and its title change. But the cast underneath it tells a stranger, more layered story than the movie itself ever did. A future HBO leading man who walked away from Hollywood to run a wildlife sanctuary, a model who was famous before she technically existed, a kid who grew up homeless and built one of the more prolific quiet careers in independent film, and two actors playing a married couple on screen who were, at the time, actually married, years before the truth about one of them became impossible to ignore. Not every reunion tells a simple story. This one, it turns out, never really could. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos exploring your favorite casts from the past.